Hi, this is Gift Constable, and I've got a product op-ed for this week that's on a common issue for both product leaders and for product managers, which is when an executive, CEO, your chief revenue officer, head of marketing, is trying to dictate the features that you should work on. It's a common classic problem. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about a specific situation where this happened to show tactically what I did to deal with that situation, and then step back and talk philosophically about what's going on for just a second, and then wrap this up. Keep this short and quick. So I was in a situation, I was at a Series C enterprise marketplace. It was B2B oriented. We had a chief revenue officer who was really focused on driving our revenue growth and getting the sales numbers, getting the revenue up, right? There were some things about them that I really loved. They were pretty respectful about not promising in contract form product features that didn't exist yet. But they were always pushing us. They would hear things from customers or, big potential targets would have asks, and they'd come and they'd put a lot of pressure on us to respond and build those things, right? So this was happening constantly. And they weren't always thinking about the contradictions of the various asks that they had about how it was pulling us in multiple directions. They just knew that someone had asked for that, and then they wanted to make it happen. I wasn't upset about that or surprised by that. That wasn't their job. That was my job as the chief product officer to be thinking about the interdependencies and the strategic choices and things like that. I also wasn't that upset that they were focused on at the feature level. Everyone thinks at the feature level. That's sort of natural human instinct, is to think in terms of solutions and features. So rather than sort of bridle at that, I sort of accepted that. But what I had to do was steer the conversation to someplace else. So what I did, and I'm going to share my screen here and just give a little mock example of kind of what happened in real time in this moment. What I did is I had set up a whiteboard in a room, and I pulled the chief revenue officer and the CEO into that room. And the whiteboard looked a little like this. I had written 4 revenue-oriented goals at the top. And I had created a list of features under each one, that if we went for this goal, the implication was these were the features we were going to build. You'll also notice that I put t-shirt sizing information on here. What I was trying to do was move the conversation from obsessing about features, right? This is where everyone was talking, and get everyone up here at this level, making a business choice, right? Now, it's not hard to understand. Again, as I said, everyone thinks in terms of features, so their brains naturally are going to be thinking down here. They're not naturally thinking through the implications of which and the contradictions of which swim lane they're going after. The other thing as well is that, when you think about these 4 that I've written down, right? Going after new logos, new customers, improving our retention, improving our churn, expanding the amount of money we're getting from each of our customers, or going after new markets. Like, these are all important. These are all things that someone who's in charge of sales and growth of a company wants to work on. When you're down here at this feature level, you're not making choices, right? Or not explicitly. People don't think about, when they say, "I'll go build this for me," they're not thinking about the opportunity cost the way that we are in product. It's very visceral to us. But when you present 4 business choices up here like this, and they kind of go, "Well, I want them all," and then you get into a discussion about how, well, look, I've only got a few product teams that are available. We can't spread ourselves too thin and be effective. We really should choose. We should either choose one, or we should force rank these and build a effective sort of portfolio of work that ladders up to that force ranking. In my case, in the real situation, I really only had 2 or 3 teams that were available, and I wanted to force rank. I wanted to pick one for the next quarter or 2. So why did I have features and t-shirt sizing on here? Because in theory, they actually weren't necessary to have a debate and a decision around, should we go after new customers versus retention versus account expansion, et cetera. Um, it was not that this information was critical to make the business choice, right? But what I have found is that if you do not share this information, you end up wasting time in rabbit holes, because people want to have a product conversation. they'll constantly going to be asking questions about what features are we talking about. And if you don't have the t-shirt sizing, whether that's in weeks or months or like small, medium, large, like I have here, if you don't have that, they're going to start asking questions. Well, how can I make a decision when I don't know how big or complex something is? Again, it's actually not about making the decision around the goals, but it is around setting up a constructive conversation. And so if you don't list those features, you don't sort of list the t-shirt sizing, just what I found is that you don't end up in a constructive conversation. So I laid this out. And what I did is I asked them to pick one. Now, there's a couple possible outcomes that could have been valid here, right? Is we could have picked a swim lane, which is actually what happened. We did pick a swim lane and that worked. It is possible that we saw, that there was a feature on multiple of those columns and said, you know what, this one thing, if we do it, it actually helps multiple goals. Let's go do that because it gives us multiple lift. That's not a bad outcome. That maybe, it depends on your context. Maybe that's a good thing. It's also possible that the chief revenue officer or the CEO say, no, I get what you're saying. I get the implications now, but I still want the thing. I still want the thing. And what you have to do is you have to pick your battles. You got to decide, am I going to fight? Or do I say, you know what, we're a team, I'm going to trust you on this and I'm going to go build it. I'm not saying one is right or wrong. You need to know in your context. But sometimes the smart thing to do is to say, I'm going to fight another day, right? I'm going to take a little political capital, be a team player and build this thing. Sometimes it's the opposite. So you got to make your call in the moment. But these are all, possible valid outcomes, right? Philosophically, there's a few things that are happening here. One, I was trying not to make it a fight over who gets to make the decision. It's not, oh, you don't get to tell product what to do. It wasn't about that. We were a team. So I was trying to invite them into a decision so we could make a decision together. I was just trying to control what they were deciding. So they still get to decide something, but I was trying to control what they were deciding. So I put the stuff on the board. I connected the dots between business goals and product features for them because non-product people don't do that naturally. So make it visual, make it clear to them, right? And then I said, I actually did say to the CRO, I would like you to make the call on which business goal will you prioritize around sales for the next quarter or two, but trust me on knowing what are the right features to build and prioritize depending on what goal you choose. And by allowing them to be part of a decision, that really kind of like it took the fight out of the air, and now it became a collaborative. They were more willing to trust me and to let go of particular features that they wanted to have, and more willing to collaborate and think through the implications and things like that because they were getting some say, right? I was just moving where they were kind of deciding. The other thing that's happening here is I was trying to make sure that everyone felt respected and heard. I'm always telling my younger product managers, like this is like a huge rule in product management, that you have to make sure always that people feel respected and heard, that you're listening to them and that you respect what they have to say. You might disagree. They might not get their way. But if people don't feel respected and heard, then you get politics, right? Then things get nasty. Then things escalate and people try to go over you or around you, etc. But if people do feel respected and heard, they're willing to have a discussion. They're willing to be told no. They're willing to not get their way. So that's a key thing that I was going for in this situation. And overall, it's like judo. You're redirecting the energy. You're trying to steer what could be conflict, what could be direct, head-on energy, and to steer that into a better place, shaping the conversation, framing the conversation, narrowing the conversation box, right, to where I wanted them to focus, moving that box, moving that focus to where I wanted it to be. So this particular tactical thing worked out well. There's lots of other approaches that you could take in terms of the specific tactics, but hopefully philosophically, this has been useful for you in terms of thinking through how to handle these really common situations that go on, and be smart about choosing your battles as well, right? Sometimes it's a journey of bringing people along and changing their mindset. So that's it for me today. The last thing I'll say to you is that for those of you who are interested in my financial fluency class on Maven, there's a new one starting on June 11th, so very soon. There is Maven is doing this 3-year anniversary that's kind of cool. Company's been around and growing and doing interesting things, and they wanted to celebrate it, and they picked their top courses. My class is one of their top classes in product. And so if you go and you sign up by this Sunday and you put in Maven 100, you'll get 25% off the cost of the class. That's until this Sunday. So just a little heads up there. And I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel as well. So I'm going to keep on putting these on LinkedIn. I'll keep on putting these on YouTube as well, under Gift Constable. And so I'm not really on Twitter or X anymore. I left it when Elon took over. So you'll find me here on LinkedIn and on YouTube if you want to see some of the past op-eds that I've been dropping. And I'm going to keep on doing this, and give me a comment to let me know what you're thinking, and let me know if there's a topic you'd like me to address in future. All right, I'm signing off. Thanks for listening. Take care.